Spring 2008 on TSN is brought to you by the new Q horsepower from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.
Some companies build cars for people who have more. At Hyundai, we build cars for people who deserve more.
The unveiling of new vehicles is what auto shows are all about. But this one at Detroit is one that most automotive journalists thought they would never ever see. The car is the Genesis, and it's made by Hyundai. So why the raised eyebrows? Well, the Genesis is considered a performance luxury vehicle. That's right, luxury Hyundai. Reminds me of the late George Carlin and his confusion over the term jumbo shrimp. So the question is, what is Hyundai thinking? Oh, by the way, did I mention that the Genesis also comes with a V8 at a time when everybody's complaining about high fuel prices? But you know, in fairness, this company has not made a lot of mistakes. Oh, sure, there was the Pony, but today they have 9 successful vehicles in its portfolio, and they are now 5th in global sales. And you know, the secret to its success has simply been value for money. But now Hyundai is heading into the luxury segment, where most owners really don't care about how much a vehicle costs. So this week, we're in beautiful Southern California to find out why Hyundai is now preparing to take a walk to the dark side.
Genesis, all-new platform, rear-wheel drive. Yeah, that's right, rear-wheel drive. V6 or V8. That's right, V8. 5-point multi-link suspension on each corner. Big brakes. We have the ride and handling and straight-line performance. So we're truly going into a performance sedan category. The engineering benchmark was BMW 5 Series and S-Class Mercedes. So we think we engineered after the right nameplates. Those are very strong and good cars. But we expect to appeal to the Cadillac CTS buyer, the Infiniti G35, and those types of vehicles, including loaded Camrys. You know, loaded Camry pops over $40,000. So we think that's a good customer for Genesis.
It's an all-new TAL 4.6-liter V8. It is 375 horsepower with premium fuel and 368 if you choose regular unleaded at the pump. The Lambda engine for us is a V6 that we've had for a while, but for Genesis there's some special tricks taken out of the cupboards for it. We've got dual variable valve timing, so that's variable valve timing on both your intake and exhaust cams, which really improves the performance of the vehicle, upping it to 290 horsepower, and also brings up fuel economy. So you get a benefit there as well.
The new Hyundai Genesis proudly displays its logo on the back of the car, as you might expect, but move to the front of the car and it is absent. Now, could this be a sign of insecurity?
I don't know if customers have really given Hyundai permission to have a performance luxury sedan. So we've downplayed the Hyundai brand. By not having a badge on the front of the car, we find that it's engaging customers. They're really attracted to the styling, so they come to have a closer look to see what the heck this vehicle is, and they're surprised to find by the time they get to the back of it that it has a Hyundai badge on it, and that's a Genesis.
I think the car is a deal changer. I think it's amazing. I drove the V8 version. The 4.6-liter TAL engine with 375 horsepower. The engine is at least as good as a BMW's engine. The transmission is virtually the same as that F6 speed from Germany. The chassis is phenomenal. I mean, nothing in Hyundai's previous repertoire prepared me for this. I mean, the steering is maybe a little overweighted, but the suspension is phenomenal. The inside is more luxurious than a BMW. It's absolutely amazing. It's going to change the game.
The Genesis is an impressive car, and it's going to shake the tree. I mean, if you look at a model for model, it's almost $10,000 less than an Infiniti, than an Acura, than a Lexus. And you know what? It's as good as those products.
Hyundai demonstrated its confidence in the Genesis by giving journalists a chance to drag race with a BMW 750 over a quarter mile. They even let Jim Kenzie and yours truly give it a try. Jim smoked me in the Genesis. In fact, the Hyundai won 70% of the time when equipped with pro drivers from the track. So Hyundai and even some journalists are putting this new Genesis on par with the BMW 5 Series. So the question is, when BMW looks in that rear view mirror and they see a Hyundai, should they be worried?
Not now. Honestly, I think that the one that should be worried would be Infiniti, Lexus, Acura, Cadillac, because people driving BMW in their mind. If you talk to anybody who owns BMW, Audi, Mercedes, and you say Hyundai, there's no way on earth they even going to be seen behind the wheel of those cars. Second step, third step would probably be to go after the Germans, but we're not there yet.
We just did some of the most twisty and tortuous roads in California, the 33 and the 150, and I was beating the car to death. Honestly, I was doing things that were extremely illegal. I mean, it would have been a deep tissue cavity search, okay? I mean, it was amazing. And the car just held up so well. I mean, if I'd closed my eyes, I could have been in a BMW 550, and that's an amazing compliment.
One of the things about this class is it tends to be fairly isolated from the good times and the bad times. In good times, obviously, it gets a little better, but it never seems to drop below that 10% mark of the Canadian market. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here for a great car to do really well. And Genesis is definitely that for us.
I mean, people have been chasing BMW handling and steering and performance for quite some time. The fact that the closest one to so far is a Hyundai is kind of weird.
You know, I try to offer constructive criticism, but sometimes I just don't have the energy. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
Now, Volkswagen might be late in coming to the compact SUV market, but its timing is anything but tardy. On this edition of Test Drive, the all-new Tiguan. With gas prices soaring faster than the space shuttle, the full-size Sport Brute is on the wane. Its sales plummeting by 19.9%, and they're still in free fall. On the flip side, the compact and mid-size segments are booming, up 16 and 26% respectively. The Tiguan, a name that combines tiger with iguana, if you can believe that, is going to give Volkswagen some much-needed leverage in these growing segments. The inside of this Tiguan is very rich, especially if you go with the two-tone interior. The other thing you'll find, all the amenities you could possibly want, including an oversized sunroof. Now, this thing's about 300% larger than your average sunroof, so it does a very good job of opening up the cabin. The other thing, take the technology package. Along with a Dyne audio system, a very good navigation system, and a backup camera, you'll find a 30 gig hard drive, 20 gig of which you can use to store your own personal tunes. The Tiguan rides on a modified Jetta platform. It provides a strong and capable base for the suspension. The front struts and multiple rear links deliver a serene ride and very stable handling. Running the Tiguan through the pylons saw but a handful of degrees of body motion. The steering contributes to the dynamic demeanour as it's nicely weighted and delivers plenty of feel and feedback. The upshot is that the driver knows exactly what's happening where the P235/55R17 tyres meet the road. In the compact SUV segment, the Tiguan is the class of the bunch because of its delicate ride handling balance. The back end of the Tiguan's been very well thought through. To begin with, in the back seat there's lots of room for two adults, lots of legroom, lots of headroom. When the seats are upright, you get about 23 cubic feet of cargo space, and if you fold them down, that number grows to 56 cubic feet. You'll also find some other neat stuff: privacy cover, ski pass-through and underfloor storage. There is indeed only one problem. This back glass should open independently of the tailgate. It does not. The Tiguan's 2-litre TSI turbocharged engine is new. It will eventually roll out across the rest of Volkswagen's lineup with time. The use of direct injection and turbocharging brings a strong 200 horsepower and 207 pound-feet of torque at a very low 1700 RPM. Trump the gas from a standstill and things catch fire in a hurry. The eager work ethic then continues across a broad range without getting noisy. The 0 to 100 km/h time comes in at around 8 seconds, which is very good for the class. If you decide to invest in a Tiguan, make sure you take the 4Motion all-wheel drive system. Now, it happens to be standard on the mid-range comfort line. The reason? The 4th generation Haldex system normally fires about 90% of the drive through the front wheels. If they begin to slip, it's fast enough in sending the power rearward, the driver remains unaware of its action, which gives it a big advantage over most of the slip-first, grip-later systems. The other thing it does, this is not an off-roader, but it does give it some capability in the dirt. The Tiguan's 6-speed Tiptronic transmission works well with the engine. In drive, the transmission likes to get into the highest gear possible to promote fuel economy. When the road begins to twist and turn, the sport mode comes into its own. It holds each gear a little longer, and so there's decent engine braking heading into a corner and the right gear when hauling out of it. There is also a manual mode. However, how much use it will see is debatable, the lack of paddle shifters being the problem. This Tiguan is a very tight package. Rich interior, very nice amenities, it's got plenty of room, plenty of flexibility, it handles well, and it's got a great engine. Now this thing will actually give you V6-like performance with 4-cylinder fuel economy. The caveat, of course, keep your boot out of the turbo, because if you don't, it eats its premium fuel at quite a rate.
Michelin, a better way forward.
We all know automotive journalists test drive vehicles and then offer their opinions, but sometimes they're even asked to test drive a tire. In this case, it's at Michelin's Lauren Proving Grounds in South Carolina. The tire, the Pilot Sport All Season Plus.
It's a regeneration of a line that was originally launched in 2001. After it being in the market for 7.5 years, we knew it needed to be brought up to current performance levels.
That was about 75 miles.
The big difference is in wet grip and deep water performance. It's a good, on the order of 10% improvement, 7.5 to 10% improvement from the previous line. And our wear performance is up about 15%.
This section right here is real high speed, so it's real similar to what you would be doing on the interstate. So we're at about 75, 76 right there, right before the braking zone.
People can go in and test drive cars, but there's nowhere you can go in and test drive a tire. Because that's what we did today. We got to drive one car with different tires on it, and it makes such a difference in what you would decide to buy.
This track that we're testing on is really good. It simulates real-world conditions. It has a lot of deep water sections, and you want a tire that's really good for hydroplenty that can go through deep water very well. Something like that. I'm not so good at the talking. I'm much better at the driving.
I remember when I had some tires on my BMW, they were about 10,000 more miles than there should have been. And it wasn't until it was really wet one night when I started to slide on the road, and I said, God, please, if you let me live tonight, I promise I'll buy some more tires.
You won't know that you have the best tire in the market until you need it.
Did you buy those new tires after that scare?
I did, the next day.
Make sure you check out Motoring's brand new website, Miss an episode or segment on TSN? Well, you can now watch it on the web. We also have a buyer's guide, Car of the Year poll, a photo gallery, the latest news, and much more. And it's all at motoringtv.com. We mentioned earlier that Hyundai is now 5th in global sales. But when it comes to owner loyalty, which is very important for automotive companies, Hyundai has now moved into 3rd spot behind the likes of Honda and Toyota. And you know, one thing very few of us think about when buying a new vehicle is the timing chain. Well, Hyundai went out of its way with the Genesis to talk about the fact that they now have a maintenance-free silent timing chain. So what's it all about? Well, let's ask our man in the Quaker State Garage, Bill Gardner.
Well, Brad, when we talk about the timing chain, we're talking about the method by which the camshaft in your engine is driven. Now, the camshaft opens and closes the valves in the engine. There's 3 typical ways it's driven. 2 are very common. One is the chain you talked about in the Hyundai. The second is the timing belt, many manufacturers use as well. And also in some older vehicles, a gear-driven camshaft. Now, of the 2 most common types today, the belt and the chain is much more desirable. First of all, mainly because it's completely maintenance-free. It's inside the engine, lubricated by the crankcase oil. It is 100% maintenance-free. And you know, if you've owned a vehicle with a timing belt, like this one, you've probably found out at some stage of the game that you need to replace that belt. And you don't want to find out the hard way by pushing it too long and waiting till the belt snaps, as this one did. On this particular vehicle, the timing belt broke. You can see where it snapped there. This was a 4-cylinder engine. And depending on the make and model of your vehicle, a broken timing belt or replacing the timing belt water pump and all the labor involved can be quite expensive. $600, $800, or $1,000 in some vehicles is not uncommon. Now, in this Civic that I had in the shop the other day, we had to change the water pump as well. The water pump engages with the timing belt and it's driven off the timing belt. So when you're changing the belt, you want to change the water pump as well. And sometimes there's a tensioner on the backside that needs to be changed as well. So that by the time you add all that up, you've got a fairly expensive repair bill. And if you try and shortcut it or go the cheap route and maybe not change the water pump, it won't last the life of that second timing belt. You'll be going back in there to change it again. So think about these things when you're servicing and buying the car. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2008.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present the Jeep Renegade. Renegade is pure Jeep with its large trapezoidal wheel openings, its 7-slot grille, and then the addition of a cut-down speedster windshield, roll bar, large openings in the doors, and no top. Cargo deck behind the cockpit can be fitted with a variety of lids, dependent on where the day's activities will take you. As equipped, this Renegade is prepared for a scuba diving adventure, complete with twin electric-powered water scooters. The scuba theme continues on the inside with a waterproof interior that you can hose down, thanks to the self-contained wireless electronics, seats covered in a waterproof scuba-like material, and a drain plug in the floor.
The electric drive system envisioned for the Jeep concept is modular. The Jeep Renegade integrates a 200 kilowatt electric motor on each axle for true four-wheel drive capability. A 16 kilowatt hour battery module is packaged under the floor. A driving range of 40 miles is possible from grid power alone. To extend range beyond 40 miles, Renegade uses an electric generator coupled to a small displacement BlueTech clean diesel engine. That brings the combined driving range up to 400 miles. Renegade is an excellent example of how Jeep enthusiasts can enjoy nature without compromise, while also minimizing the impact to our environment.
Closed captioning of Motoring 2008 is brought to you by the totally new Chevrolet Malibu, 2008 North American Car of the Year.
Now, one of the interesting things about California, well, we're not there now, but never mind, is that they have the toughest car pollution standards in the world, and about 25% of the vehicles look like they're 40 years old. You got all these VW Beetles tootling around the freeways down there, and they're spewing pollution like it's going out of style, and yet the government continually forces car makers to make new cars that are 1/1,000,000% better than the ones that they're replacing. Don't you think they'd do something to get the old vehicles off the road? Well, they do. They're called clunker laws. And the federal government in Ottawa, they've decided, well, we got to get in that project too. So they're going to offer people who own vehicles that are 1975 or older a transit pass. Now, that makes a lot of sense. The guy who's currently driving a 1975 full-size Chevy, probably living in the back seat, where's he going to go now? He's going to live in the back seat of a bus? And I don't think Runny Nose Bend, Saskatchewan has a subway. You know, I'm just guessing. But there's an alternative. They'll offer you a bicycle. Now, that makes a lot of sense. We actually happen to be in Montreal. It's a beautiful sunny day. Next February, I'm not sure a lot of Montrealers are going to be lining up for a bicycle. But there is a third alternative. They'll offer you a $300 rebate. Now, the average transaction price of a new, pristine, environmentally friendly car in Canada is about $30,000. So the guy who currently can only afford to drive a 1975 Chevy, he just has to come up with $29,700. My head hurts. I'm Jim Kenzie.
You know, we've been on a lot of new vehicle launches over the years, but I don't remember in recent years when so many cynical automotive journalists have fallen over themselves in praise for one vehicle, but that's what they've been doing with this new Hyundai Genesis, and I can't disagree with them. But you know what? Off the top of the program, we question this company's decision to go into the luxury market, considering Hyundai's success so far has been based on good value for the dollar. Well, think about this. The Genesis is almost $38,000 cheaper than the BMW 5 Series. Heck, you could buy two of these for that price. And you know what? That sounds like good value to me. Well, that's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
I've been test driving cars since 1988, one a week since then. That's a lot of cars, I think over 1,000. What we're doing today is taking 13 cars and driving in a fuel-efficient manner to see how far they'll go and hopefully pick a winner at the end of the day.
I think it's going to be imperative that people will have to find a fuel-efficient vehicle to drive as a daily driver. The price of gas is probably going to hit $2 by the end of this year. We have to do something to drive something that is more fuel-efficient.
Motoring 2008 on TSN has been brought to you by the new Q horsepower from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.